are a very good team. They've been showing year after year. Mark is doing an amazing job. He's been there for a while. You can see the routines, you can see the complicity, you can see that it's a tough team.
West Ham, they announced their financial report for the year 2024-2025. Is that something that you take notice of? Is it something that you have an interest in?
It's not my job. It's not my job. The accounts of the club is not my job.
Hello everybody. Next up, we return to civilization on Wednesday night, where we will face Fulham at Craven Cottage. Kick-off is at 8 p.m, so be prepared for a bit of a late one. TV is being covered by something called Discovery Plus and by TNT via the red button. But for God's sake, don't tell Donald Trump that. So, Fulham then. Bit of a mixed bag so far this season, as evidenced by their last 6 games, which has seen them win 3 and lose 3. They finished off January with a 2-1 home win over Brighton before losing 3 on the trot. Man United 3-2, at home to Everton 2-1, and away at Man City 3-0. They have returned to winning ways of late, with a favourable fixture list giving them a post-honeymoon period Sunderland away fixture, which they won 3-1, and of course Tottenham at home last weekend, where they prevailed 2-1 in a match that, had they had their shooting boots on, would have been a lot more comfortable than the score suggests. Incidentally, while the league's laughingstock are in our crosshairs for a moment, remember when the Tottenham press department kept spouting all sorts of nonsense about meaningless, non-existent records about what they or their players had done in a calendar year? Do you think the person responsible for that output has gone on annual leave for a bit? Probably till the end of 2026, I expect. Anyway, all those results at Fulham have left them in 9th place, well away from the trouble areas below them, but probably 5 or 6 points shy of any meaningful assault on Europe. Daisy informs me that, as seems to have been the trend this winter, they were not overactive in their transfer market. They did sign Norwegian international Oscar Bob from Manchester City for £27 million. Bob has an interesting history. As a kid, he was on the books of Norwegian side Lyn, who took their under-11 squad to the Algarve for a tournament where he caught the eye of Porto's scouts, who promptly started to enter into talks with the kid's mum. Now, there are rules on this sort of thing, one of which is that you can't move anyone that young from one country to another unless their parents are moving for non-football reasons. FIFA took time out from counting the contents of the latest batch of brown envelopes to arrive in Zurich to look into Bob's proposed transfer, and concluded that the excuse that Bob's mum had relocated to Portugal to further her acting career was even less convincing than whatever excuse they were working on to explain the contents of the brown envelopes. To be fair, they probably had a point. Quite apart from the lack of ripples in the cinematic universe caused by the Portuguese film industry, try as she might, Daisy could not find too much in the Oscar records relating to nominations for Norway's answer to Meryl Streep. There's not an awful lot to say about Fulham, to be honest, so with that we'll move on to the wild and wacky world of association football, which this week focuses mainly on West Ham matters for once. The club's accounts were published on the very deadline for publication, which, handily for some, meant that they're appearing late in the day on a Friday. A pretty picture they did not make. The headline loss figure was something like £104 million, a figure which prompted some to dig out the quote that successful businesswoman Baroness Brady came out with when the current ownership took over. Namely, that they would, quote, hang in the Tower of London, unquote, before the club would be in similar financial straits. Note the use of the word before in that sentence. Now, I've looked at all the papers, even the ones with the pictures in that Tottenham supporters read, and I can find no record of any public executions in the tower since a German spy was shot there in 1941. Maybe there's some sort of court injunction prohibiting the papers from publishing the details. The figures, which the club have stated will require player sales to cover, have come 10 years after what the Baroness still insists was, quote, the most successful stadium move in history, unquote. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm not too sure the club can stand much more success of this type. Maybe it's time that the owners left to work their magic on some other club. Tottenham would be funny. The current financial situation is just another of the successes that has prompted the ongoing protests, which faced a brick wall of hypocrisy up at Anfield. Now, whether it was the result of a request from our owners or simply as a show of solidarity with fellow owners in the club's ongoing battle against its own supporters is almost irrelevant. The fact that Liverpool saw fit to tell its stewards to confiscate red cards, t-shirts and sweatshirts was laughable. I witnessed a supply of red cards being confiscated by one female steward on the grounds of safety. When asked exactly how a small piece of card could be a safety issue, it was clear that her briefing had consisted of the words, "Just tell them it's safety" or something. Though to be fair, if you really tried, I suppose you could probably get a really nasty paper cut off the cards, I expect. Others were told that political material was banned from the stadium, that they didn't seem to have too much of an issue with Palestinian flags, for example. On another matter up there, whilst the concept of having "You'll Never Walk Alone" signed for those with hearing difficulties may well be laudable, that feeling was dissipated slightly by being told that the signing was being sponsored by Carlsberg. I remember this site publishing an April Fool's joke about bubbles being sponsored by Nestle to promote Aero chocolate one year, which came within a gnat's hair of being published as fact by a gullible tabloid journalist. Seems we were just a little bit ahead of our time. On the pitch, we were treated to the usual embarrassing refereeing as Robinson set his stall out early doors by failing to award us a corner that had clearly come off a Liverpool head. The full range of little refereeing assists were in play, the denial of advantage, which seems to be PGMOL's thing of the month, seemed to be particularly in vogue on Saturday. Not that it was always required. On the rare occasion that Robinson did award us a free kick, the restart was usually delayed by the ball being kicked away, or more often a player feigning injury. Now, to say that Liverpool have always been fond of the so-called dark arts, or to give the watered-down phrase its true meaning, cheating, is a little bit like saying FIFA employees have displayed a fondness for brown envelopes over the years. However, these days it's pretty much all Liverpool have. Win a corner or a free kick and rely on the officials turning a blind eye to anything they can get away with in the box, which at Anfield is pretty much a gimme. All of which makes Slot's complaints earlier on today about the modern game being a chore to watch particularly amusing. Perhaps you should try playing football sometime then, Arnie. The degree of refereeing impartiality can be gauged by just how long they spent in examining our perfectly fine first goal on VAR in a desperate attempt to disallow it. The other giveaway was the moment where Robinson put the whistle to his lips when Souček had his legs taken from him while he was queuing up a shot. Then Robinson took the whistle away just as quick when he realised where he was. Overall, we played okay apart from our usual naivete at corners. Oh, and apart from Wan-Bissaka's appalling defending for one of those goals. But to have any chance up there, you need a bit of honesty from the match officials, and you're never going to get it up there. The injury list for Wednesday is much as you were, with Pab and Fab being out and Potts sitting out his ban, which will bring us neatly onto the question of this week's prediction. Well, we will be boosted by the fact that Fulham are more of a footballing side than last week's opponents, though we'll definitely need to improve on corners, whoever we're playing. We should take heart from the fact that there were decent spells at the weekend where we dominated, and yet again, there is the prize of getting out of the bottom three for a while. Whilst the result on Saturday didn't help any, other results meant that it wasn't in itself harmful. Whilst Fulham will also have been happy with beating Tottenham, the fact remains that, well, it was Tottenham. And in all honesty, I think we're a better side than them. So if we can keep the improved form going, this one is definitely winnable. So with that in mind, I'll be off to Winston the Turf Accountants with my £2.50 of an origin that I shan't disclose, carried in a brown envelope, a whole lot to be wagered on an away win. Let's call it 2-1, shall we? Enjoy the game.